Good evening. You are here, I am here, and we are in this room together. Now listen. Stop. Do you notice what happens inside you when that word lands? Stop. A kind of hush. The inner crowd that has been rushing with prayers and plans and spiritual techniques takes one step back. You see it. Stop. We begin here because many of you have called your strain a practice. You have named your tightening abiding. You have been trying to hold a state, trying to keep the Christ present, trying to stay up, to maintain, to remember, to keep your attention fixed. And all the while, the trying is the giveaway. Who is trying? The very sense of a personal I shouldering God about like a package. And when the personal I undertakes to carry God, fatigue is immediate. You know this, of course. The first sign that you've made abiding personal is strain. So the first instruction is simply, and I mean simply, stop. When you hear that, and when you allow it, there is an unmistakable loosening in the chest. The breath softens. The forehead lets go its furrow. All at once you notice, oh, this is not my job. The government is not on my shoulder. The government, listen to the ancient word now, the government is on his shoulder. And when that dawns, a release comes within. Not a theory, not a borrowed sentence, but a felt release. You can feel it, can't you? Now, stopping is not laziness. Stopping is not passivity, not negligence, not indifference. We are not advocating a spiritual vacation. We are establishing correct agency. Who does the abiding? Who is aware of abiding? There is an error in grammar that has become an error in living, and we are going to correct it. But first, stop the performance. Stop the self-hypnosis of, I must hold the light, I must keep centered, I must stay high. That is control. That is mental. That is the personal will dressed up in church clothes. It will exhaust you, and it will not reveal God. Be still and know. Not be still and manufacture. Not be still and clutch. Be still and know. So let the shoulders fall. Let the heart grow quiet. Let the anxious manager go off duty. There is a presence, and it is not summoned by your squeezing. There is a power, and it does not report to your calendar. When you stop, you create no vacancy. You reveal an occupancy that has been there all along. So tonight, we anchor in this. The burden you have been calling practice is not the way. The relief you feel right now is the first sign of rightness. From here, we will learn who abides and how awareness attends. But the gate is this hush, this stop. Stop the straining. Let the government rest where it belongs. And let the release tell you that you have come to the door. Now we take up the little word that betrays the whole performance. I. When you say, I am abiding, who is this I that has suddenly become superintendent of the infinite? Is it the anxious manager we just relieved of duty? Is it the thinker with his fingers on the dial, trying to keep the needle steady? If it is, the strain will tell on you in 5 minutes. You know it. The fatigue gives you away. Let us do the work the way the Master taught, by looking into the sentence until it answers us. I am the vine, ye are the branches. Now, a question. Do branches push the sap? Do they maintain their own connection by vigilance and will? Or do they live because the vine lives, and because the life of the vine is their life? Another question. Even this word, remain, abide in me, Who holds whom? The gardener grafts, the vine carries. The branch consents by being a branch. That is all. And if a wind blows, the strength that keeps the union is not in the twig's resolve, it is in the life that is one life in both vine and branch. Take now the other sentence. I can of mine own self do nothing. The Father within me doeth the works. Slowly, please. If of my own self I can do nothing, what is included in nothing? Healing, supply, guidance, yes. But also abiding. Abiding is not exempt from the nothing. The Father within me doeth the works. Then the Father within me does the abiding too. He keeps the connection because He is the connection. He maintains the awareness because He is the awareness. The life is His life as my life. So where does that leave the little I? Out of a job. And with that realization, a release comes. The pressure drops. The sentence changes from, I am holding to God, to, God is holding me. From, I am staying in the presence, to, presence is staying as me. Do you feel the difference? Now this is not a trick of phrasing. It is a shift of government. The human mind cannot hold a posture long enough to be called abiding. That is still control, and control is the mental plane. Abiding is not a posture. It is a recognition. It is the discovery that you are already in the vine, and that the sap is already moving, and that you are carried. Your part? Noticing without interference. Bearing witness instead of bearing burdens. Let the words form in you till they are true. The Father within abides me. Christ lives as me. I live, yet not I. Then rest from meddling. And so, whenever you hear the old pronoun step forward, I must keep it. I must maintain my consciousness. Let that very phrasing serve as your bell. Ah, there is the false subject. Hand the pronoun back to its rightful owner. The Father. The Father. The Father. Let Him be what He is, and you will find that abiding is not something you do. It is the way life is being you. In that recognition, the struggle collapses, and fruit appears in season, without strain, without self-congratulation, with only the quiet certainty that the vine is faithful to its branches. Now comes the sentence that turns the key, not as a verse to admire, but as breath to live by. The government is on His shoulder, not on mine, not on yours, on His. And when that ceases to be a quotation and becomes an interior event, a release comes within. You feel it as the moment the harness falls off, the chest softens, the mind stops leaning forward. Something larger takes the reins, and the surprising discovery is that it has always had them. You know that moment. What is this government? Do not leave it in poetry. Government means management, order, correction, direction, supply, protection, justice. You have been trying to manage your spiritual life as if the infinite needed your memo. You have been correcting yourself with whips, directing yourself with fear, supplying yourself with strain. And because you are sincere, you have tried harder, and because you have tried harder, the strain has increased. Sincerity does not sanctify error, it intensifies it. The more earnest the wrong agency, the heavier the yoke. Now the word comes. The government is on His shoulder. The Father within me doeth the works. Christ liveth as me. And with that, the pressure shifts, not outward but inward, from the tense self to the indwelling presence. and you breathe. So it is that you test where you are standing. If you feel driven, pressed, anxious to maintain a level, if you are checking your pulse of spirituality every 10 minutes, you are still assuming the government. You have the pack back on your shoulder. But if there is a quiet direction, not a push, but a leading, and along with it the capacity to do what is given without panic, then you are yielding to government. There is an authority, but it is not yours. It is through you. There is action, but it is not strain. It is rightness. The Father. The Father. The Father. Now, this is not passivity. Government is not a hammock. It is order. When the Christ governs, correction occurs without self-hate. Guidance appears as the next clear thing without the agitation of 5 competing plans. Supply answers itself without your bargaining with the universe. A phone rings, a door opens, an old resentment loosens. A word is given you that fits like a key in a lock. You find yourself doing what an hour ago felt impossible, and you know why. I can of mine own self do nothing. The Father within me doeth the works. He does the doing, and He lends the how. Beware here of the subtle disguise of effort. It will say, I am only being faithful. I am only keeping my vigil. I am only holding the light. But if you must hold it, you have not yet recognized that the light holds you. Faithfulness is not clenching. Faithfulness is yielding when the release comes. And it will come, not as a theory, but as a lessening of burden inside. You will hear your own language change from I must to it is given. From I will make to it is done. That change of grammar is your sacrament. Therefore, make this your practical watch. Do I feel driven or directed? Am I maintaining or being maintained? Is there pressure or presence? If pressure, stop. You have wandered back to your own shoulder. If presence, proceed. The Christ is governing. Then, without announcement, life begins to carry you the way a current carries a leaf, not to idleness, but to right shores without splash and thrash. And you will say within yourself, not as boast, but as gratitude, the government is not on my shoulder. The government is on His shoulder. And everything in me knows it. Now, because the mind is clever, let us set a bright boundary. You heard, the government is on His shoulder. And at once the old supervisor says, good, I will go hold that feeling. I will keep the vibration high. Stop. Abiding is not that. Abiding is not autosuggestion. It is not self-hypnosis. It is not pacing the room with holy phrases until you have manufactured a mood. It is not mental control dressed in sacred language. If you have to mentally hold it, it isn't abiding, it's control, and control is still the mental plane. You see? Now do not mistake me. The mind can do remarkable things. The mind can slow your pulse, smooth your breath, even produce a kind of hush. In India they teach that as yoga. In the West it shows up as positive thinking and affirmations. And yes, hypnotism. These are mental controls. They can be used for discipline, but they will not reveal God. They are not wrong as skills. They are wrong when we call them spirit. Spirit is not manufactured. Spirit is realized. And that is why reliance on metaphysical truths as statements can be fatal. Fatal because it arrests you on the wrong level. You can repeat, God is love, from breakfast to midnight, and never once experience the love that releases you. The mind never becomes spirit by repeating spirit. It is like rubbing a lamp that isn't plugged in. So let us mark the difference between calm as control and peace as realization. Calm as control is achieved. You count the breath. You lower the blinds of the senses. You hold still the surface of the pond. It is fragile. One phone call and your pond ripples. Peace as realization is found, or better, it finds you when you get out of the way. It is not a surface you maintain. It is a presence that maintains you. It does not vanish when a noise appears. It is the untroubled depth beneath the noise. And here again, the sign is unmistakable. A release comes within, and with it the witness. I live, yet not I. The Father within me doeth the works. Here is your simple diagnostic, and it will serve you all your days. If you must keep checking, am I abiding? Is the vibration still high? How am I doing? You are supervising. You are on the clock, and you are the clock watcher. True abiding removes the supervisor. There is simple being and simple listening. There is attention without audit. There is willingness without willfulness. You discover that you are not holding to God. God is holding you. And when that is so, you do not look at your inner wristwatch. You do not test the atmosphere every 5 minutes. You rest, and you respond as you are moved. Now this is a boundary, not a scold. We are protecting the holy thing from imitation. When you catch yourself grinding a sentence, trying to keep bright, do not condemn, simply stop. Return to stillness, not to passivity, but to the posture in which realization may dawn. We will, in our next step, take one living truth and stay with it in contemplation until the release comes. But hear this boundary ring now like a bell. If you must hold it, it is yours, and what is yours must be guarded. What must be guarded is fear's child, and fear's child cannot reveal God. The Father, the Father, the Father. Let Him do the abiding as you, and you will know peace that does not need your hands to keep it together. Now we come to the how, and it is so simple that the mind will try to improve it. Don't. I call this contemplative meditation. It is not taking statements and grinding them into your brain. It is not many sentences. It is one living truth, received until a release comes. Reading or hearing, and then pondering. Ponder it, contemplate it, let it open of itself. No pushing, no managing. Just a steady interior turning of the jewel until the light flashes. Let us do it here together. Take this. The Father within me doeth the works. Slowly now. The Father within me doeth the works. Again, not to hypnotize, but to invite. Who is this Father? What is this Father? Within me, where? Me, what is this me? Doeth, who does? The works, what works? Healing, guidance, supply, order, right action. The Father within me doeth the works. And now we are quiet. We are not answering the questions with the head. We are letting the word answer itself. Do you feel how the sentence begins to say you rather than you saying it? If nothing stirs, we do not scold and we do not force. We sit another moment, and we let the phrase turn again like a wheel catching sunlight. The Father, the Father, the Father within me, not out there, not a distant sky power, within me, yet greater than me, doeth, present, not will do, not did long ago, doeth the works. So the government is not on my shoulder. And somewhere in there, it may be in a breath, it may be in a minute, something yields. A click. The body lets go an inch. The mind stops leaning forward. The sentence is no longer being made true, it is recognized as true. That is the release. No fireworks are needed, no visions, only the unmistakable lessening of burden and the quiet witness. I live, yet not I. The Father within me doeth the works. At that instant, stop. Do not go on repeating. Do not try to hold it. The trying would hand the government back to you. When the release comes, the prayer is finished. Get up and go about your business. Pay the bill that needs paying. Make the call that is yours to make. Wash a dish, or simply rest. You have not been wound up to perform. You have been freed to be governed. If later the old pressure returns, and it will try with new disguises, do not argue with it. Do not rehearse your trouble. Return to the chair, the couch, the corner. Take the same line, or if you are led, another living truth. Repeat it gently. Question it softly. Listen more than you speak. Stay until the release comes. Then again, get up and go on. If necessary, 2 hours later, or 3, or 4, or 5. As often as it takes. This is your practice, not repetition, but contemplation unto realization. Not holding a state, but waiting until the presence announces itself by release. Then you know, the Father within me doeth the works, and you are relieved of pretending to do them yourself. Now I can feel the question rising in the room. If I stop striving, won't I become careless, negligent, irresponsible? No. That would be passivity, and passivity is personal resignation. Stillness is not resignation. Stillness is receptivity. Passivity says, I quit because I cannot. Stillness says, I listen because he can. You see the difference? One is defeat of the personal will by fatigue. The other is the cessation of personal will because the government is recognized on his shoulder. Be still and know is not be still and do nothing. It is be still and know who does the works. Now watch how action changes its quality after the release. Before you were pushing. The body leaned forward. The mind wrote lists and graded itself on performance. After the release, there is a next thing, and it is simple. A phone is dialed without 5 rehearsals and no dread left over. A bill is paid without the old speech about lack. A boundary is spoken. No to that invitation, yes to this responsibility, without apology and without hardness. Necessary work is done, and the residue is peace, not resentment. Do you notice that? The aftertaste is different. My yoke is easy, my burden is light, ceases to be poetry, and becomes physiology. So it is that we are not advocating inactivity. We are shifting agency. I can of mine own self do nothing. The Father within me doeth the works. Therefore, something is done, and it is done through you. The instrument is not idle. The instrument is free of pretending to be the musician. Availability replaces anxiety. Obedience replaces overdrive. You find yourself at the right desk, in the right conversation, with the right word. And it does not feel like self-assertion. It feels like being carried to the next stone across the stream. The Father. The Father. The Father. Here is your practical pattern, and keep it close until it is your reflex. Contemplate, release, live. Not contemplate, release, hold the mood, prove something. Live. Do the next evident thing without drama. And if the mind, like an old chauffeur, reaches for the wheel, I'd better push now, I might lose it. You do not argue. You stop. You return to the chair, the corner, the word. Take one living truth, stay until the release comes, rise and live again, over and over if need be. This is fidelity without strain. Observe what right action is not. It is not frantic. It is not delayed by fear. And it does not require a committee meeting in your head. It has authority without harshness, speed without haste, firmness without anger. You will discover you can say no without guilt, and yes without bargaining. You can prune what must be pruned without hatred for the branch. You can endure what must be endured without the story of martyrdom. Why? Because the doer is the inner presence, and the human sense has ceased claiming authorship. Therefore, do not measure your spirituality by how still you sit, but by the peace that accompanies what you do. If there is strain, stop. Government has slipped back to your shoulder. If there is quiet directive, proceed. Christ is abiding you into action. And in that way, life ceases to be a project to manage and becomes a response to grace, one timely step at a time. Now, as you live from release and not from supervision, something begins to happen to your seeing. The burden drops and perception lifts. You find that you are not so busy managing life, and because you are not so busy managing, you begin to notice. First, of course, the human scene still presents itself. Bodies and conditions, amounts and deadlines, symptoms and forecasts. You see shirts and shoes, a frown or a smile, a ledger and a calendar. That is the outermost rung, and if you try to fix life from that rung, you will stay there, pushing bodies, juggling dates, counting coins. But if you are yielded, if a release has come and the government is felt on his shoulder, your attention loosens from things, and you begin to see persons. Not clothes, persons. Then, you begin to note the eyes. You know this. All at once, the eyes are not merely features, they disclose. In some faces, there is a softness behind the iris. In others, a plead. In others, a steadiness that is not self-made. You catch yourself listening with your eyes, and you realize it is not your cleverness. It is a new faculty waking. And even then, if you remain yielded, something else dawns just beyond the eyes. You become aware of an atmosphere about a person. Call it an aura if you like, but better understood as the felt presence of being. You sense a quality before a word is spoken. They carry a weather with them, and you find that you too carry weather, and that when the Christ is recognized, the weather is fair. Now mind you, this is not spectacle. We are not cultivating clairvoyance. We are being refined into recognition. You are not hunting colors around bodies or trying to see halos on demand. That is still the mental plane trying to engineer phenomena. No, this refinement appears because you have ceased manufacturing presence and have begun to perceive presence already there. Within you, within them, within the very situation that frightened you yesterday. Be still and know becomes be still and see. And with this seeing, responsiveness changes. You answer to what God is doing in a person or in a room, not to what appearances insist upon. As the ladder rises, there will be moments. It may be a flash and then it is gone, when the body idea drops out of your focus and all that stands before you is light. Not light imagined, light recognized. Transfiguration is not a museum story. It is a continuing experience of an elevation of consciousness. It does not come by straining the eyes. It comes when the inner government is so present that the outer fact yields to inner truth. You will not advertise it. You will not speak of it loosely. But you will know, in some quiet instance, that life is more luminous than form, and that recognition will alter how you touch, how you speak, how you correct, how you serve. So it is that abiding stops being something you maintain and becomes something you recognize everywhere. In the kitchen, you feel the atmosphere of Christ before the conversation begins. In an office, you know whether to wait or to speak because the weather within tells you. In a sick room, you are not hypnotized by symptoms. You perceive life present, and you address that life, and often the symptom withers as if embarrassed. Do you see the order? Contemplate, release, live. And as you live from release, perception refines. The government is not on your shoulder, so the eyes lift from problems to presence, from managing to beholding, from effort to recognition. And that recognition is not for show. It is for obedience. It is that you may respond from spirit and not from appearances. The Father, the Father, the Father, doing the seeing and then doing the works. Now, after such seeing, watch how the mind returns with a new badge on its chest. It will not say, "I will fix this." It will say, "I'm trying to let go." Do you hear the trick? It still begins with I, and it still claims agency. I'm trying to be still. I'm trying to trust. I'm trying to surrender. The last refuge of the personal self is trying to surrender, so surrender must be realized, not performed. Who is trying? The same little manager we relieved a few pages back, now in white robes, but with the same clipboard. If of mine own self I can do nothing, does the nothing include letting go? Yes. Yes, it does. So let us do our pronoun work again. I am trying to let go. Who is this I? The branch pretending to push the sap? The actor rehearsing humility? The mind that wants the crown without the weight? Hand the pronoun back. Not my will, thy will. Not my trying, thy doing. Not my grip, thy government. Speak, Father, thy servant heareth. These are not magic words, they are doors. We stand at the door, we knock, and then we stop pushing on it from our side. We listen, we wait. If nothing opens at once, we do not begin the old grinding. We do not perform surrender. We abide at the threshold in quiet expectancy until a release comes within. Now you know the sign. We have named it all evening. The shoulders loosen a fraction. The breath no longer leans forward. The inner pace changes from trot to walk. The sentence begins to say you, rather than you saying it. That is the transfer of government. That is surrender realized. And only then do we rise, not because we achieved a state, but because the state announced itself. The Father, the Father. The Father within me doeth the works, including the letting go that I could not stage without tightening somewhere else. Beware the mind's new disguise. I'm trying to trust. Trust as effort is suspicion with a polite smile. Trust as realization is the fruit of recognition. So we do not bully the heart into confidence. We sit with one living truth as with a friend until the friendship becomes tangible. Not my will, thy will. And then silence. And then more silence than that. Speak, Father, thy servant heareth. And do you see? In that humility, a word may come, or no word, only ease. But whether a phrase arrives or not, the inner climate has changed, and that climate, not your performance, governs what follows. Make this your gentle re-entry each time the supervisor returns with spiritual language. Catch the pronoun, relinquish the post. Take the door phrase, not as incantation, but as consent. Wait for the felt release. If it comes, proceed. If it does not, do not pretend. Do not wear surrender like a uniform. Stay. Listen. Let the Father be Father. In that way we come to know, not as concept but as event. I live, yet not I. And when it is true, it needs no trying. It carries you. Now we come to the gravity of it, because realization is not a private spa. If the Christ lives as me, then there is not a sealed-off me with my own moral weather. There is one life appearing as many. Do you see where that goes? It means that the same presence that released your shoulder is the I of everyone before you, saint or stranger, friend or irritant, the least and the great. Therefore, what you do to them, you are doing to the I that abides you. Listen to the Master as law, not as poetry. Inasmuch as ye have done it unto the least of these, my brethren, ye have done it unto me. Not advice, mechanism. Why? Because the me is the one life. So if I wrong you, whom am I wronging? Myself. If I bless you, whom am I blessing? Myself. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. He was not giving etiquette. He was describing the structure of being. There is only one self, one I. I am he. I am that. Now, bring it down from the clouds. We cannot say, "The Father within me doeth the works," and then underpay the worker because we can get away with it. We cannot speak of release and then use the silence to avoid apologizing when we have harmed. We cannot abide in Christ and then gossip, belittle, dismiss, exploit, or entertain our little cruelties because they feel clever. That is metaphysical pretense. Identity requires integrity. Conduct must match realized self. What does it look like when the law governs? Kindness without sentimentality. Justice without rage. Patience that does not indulge harm, yet does not feed on punishment. You will say no cleanly where no is love, and yes gladly where service is asked. You will return the extra change instead of congratulating yourself on providence. You will not weaponize Scripture to excuse neglect. You will keep covenant, promises, invoices, boundaries, because the one who abides you keeps covenant. And notice, this is not moralism. Moralism is the personal shoulder trying to be good. This is the natural law of oneness functioning as daily conduct. After release, right action appears, and it is surprisingly humane. The voice that corrects in you will correct through you without humiliation of another. The strength that sets a boundary will spare you from contempt. The generosity that gives will not create a ledger of favors. Why? The doer is not you. The doer is the Father within. My yoke is easy. My burden is light. So here is your practice in life. Return each day to one living truth until the release comes. Then rise and live from the release. Let relationships be the proof. Begin at the breakfast table, in the email, at the counter, on the road. If you feel strain or superiority, stop. The government has crept back to your shoulder. Hand it over again. If you feel quiet authority joined to tenderness, proceed. Christ is abiding you. And in that way the inner word becomes outer law. I live, yet not I. The Father within me doeth the works. Toward the least of these, toward the most of these, toward all, as my very self. The Father, the Father, the Father.